Guys, this is going to be a long video. You guys can see it right there. We're looking at my knife collection, and a lot of people have asked since I did that video a couple years ago of my $10,000 knife collection. They've asked, has it changed? And it has a little. So let's take a look at what's new and what's gone from my knife collection. Well, like I said in the intro, this is going to be a long video. So I have gotten rid of a couple knives, and as you can see here, there's an overflow case over here that has got a lot more stuff in it. So we're going to move this one out of the way. We'll go through the main body of the collection first, and then you guys will get to see some new additions. There's a few new additions in here. So let me get this out of the way. So before we get too far into what's in this case, we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit the outliers. Of course, you guys know always my Grimsmo Norseman, typically it's in my pocket. For the purposes of today's video, I put it in its case. This was a grail knife for me. I've had this for a little over 2 years now. Always, always, always in my pocket. It's probably one of my favorite EDC knives. It spends almost every day in my pocket. And so since it's been filmed, it can go right back in my pocket where it usually is. So there's the first knife, and there's another little outlier, a couple more outliers here. The PMP Aries, another knife that has really ingratiated itself to me and spends a lot of time in my pocket. This is an amazing knife. This came from one of the paying members, Mr. Winston Cobretti. It was a gift to me. I have really fallen in love with the PMP knives. They are great knives. They all come in these hard case boxes, just like the Grimsmo Norseman. I do have another PMP, but I did not get the case with it when it came as a gift. So there's those two little outliers. And then the third, because it really doesn't go in the case well, is my Exo gravity knife. There's just no real good way. If I put this in the case and I pull it out, there's a good chance I'm going to cut the foam, which is already looking pretty ragged from having so many knives in and out of it. But this was an addition that I got at Blade Show West in Long Beach last year or the year before, I can't remember. And it's a great knife. If you haven't tried out one of these Reate Exo gravity knives, I highly recommend it. You can go check them out at Crane's Cutlery. That's where I got mine, and that's who gave me this beautiful leather pocket slip for that. So let's go ahead and get this out of the way and get into the case. All right, now that we got the outliers out of the way, I've got room to put up the actual lights, and we're going to get into what's in the case. Now, this is my Ferrum Forge Pretium. This was the first run that Elliot did in-house that was not like a full custom knife. He did these on a CNC in-house. He did all the design work. Now, he's never been real happy with this knife. He doesn't think it represents the company very well, and things like that. I absolutely love this knife. It's a very good knife. It's done in Elmax and titanium, and it is absolutely beautifully smooth. I did all the refinish work on this, changed the overstop, changed the pivot, and everything myself, and including the ano on that. But I absolutely love this knife. He was going to throw this one away, and I wouldn't let him, so he gave it to me as a gift. The next one is a knife that I lusted after. This was another grail knife. This is the Ferrum Forge Fortis, and this is the Fortis B, or I can't remember which is the B or the A. But the reason I wanted this one so badly is it's done in a specific blade finish. As you can see, it's not a polish, and it's also not a stone wash. This was done in a completely different way. It was tumbled for a very long time in some synthetic sapphire. And it gave it a very unique finish. And if you look at it closely, you can still see pattern in that blade, almost like a stone wash, but it is basically a mirror, and it is gorgeous. I redid the ano on this. I'm sorry, not the ano, but the finish on this. So I did it with a black ceramic down in the logo on the hardware and down in the milled areas. This was a gift to me from my buddy Nico, and this thing is absolutely amazing how good this knife is. So let's go ahead and get that one put away. The next knife in the case is these are all Ferrums up here. We're going to run into a bunch of Ferrums. This is the Ferrum Forge the Ferrum Forge Archbishop, which is a knife that I bought directly from Elliot before it was he didn't even have a chance to put this one on the website. This is a one-off. It's done with a black ceramic coating on all this, and this was all masked off and then textured and anodized in that beautiful looking toxic green that is iridescent. And the pocket clip was done the same way. I need to get this over to Elliot, have him redo the pocket clip, because I just can't get it as good as they can. The hardware's all green, everything on it. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful knife. Had to go get a drink. This is going to be a marathon, not a sprint. This is my Ferrum Forge Maker's Choice Spinner. This is a Gavco collab with Ferrum Forge. This is one of the most aesthetic blades that they've ever done. And it was one of, up until later, one of the thinnest ground blades they had ever done. It is really, really awesome how good this knife is. This one's actually for sale. I don't know if it'll still be around when you guys see this video, but yeah, beautiful hand carved. All of those were done with a 1/32 end ball end mill. Every one of those scales was done by hand on a Dremel, if you can believe that. And I don't mean like one of the ones with the long cable that allows you to do it. No, with the motor up above it, just like a pencil, he drew those in there. And one screw up and you're done. You basically, you can't fix that. So he had to be really, really precise. Great, great knife. This one was called the Marlin. This is a knife that I have two of. One was my father's. This one is mine. I bought this one. This is my Ferrum Forge NTAC, which is a just basically a smaller version of the Mordax, which I just recently sold to one of the paying members, Will B. I had one. This absolutely is a knife that won't ever go anywhere because I love this knife. It's just about perfect for a small EDC size. It is amazing how much blade they shoved into this small little knife. It's always been one of my favorite knives. I think this is one of the best Ferrum Forge knives on the market. Really, really is. If you can find one of these, I absolutely recommend picking one up. It will not disappoint you whatsoever. So I bought one of these for my father as a retirement gift. And then after he passed away, it came home and now it's my daughter's. The next Ferrum Forge, this is the last of the in-house, like mid-tech style Ferrum Forges. This is my Master Blaster. This was a collaboration between Elliot and Les George. And this was commissioned by my friends Tino and Nico. And they told Elliot, just go to town, do the biomech style that he knows I love on this beautiful Wharncliffe. As you can see, this knife, even though it's like a $1,600 knife, absolutely gets used all the time because it's just about perfect. It cuts well, it handles well, but this was all hand carved. Just like the other one we looked at with the scales, one was like a fish. But this was all hand carved, and this was a piece of copper that was pushed in, like punched in here. He milled out a slot, put in a piece of copper, and then carved it by hand and left it proud and tall so that it had that spine standing up. And it's absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful, beautiful, thoughtful gift from my really, really good friends. And this is absolutely one of the best knives I own. And then we get into some of the other Ferrum Forge stuff. This is my Ferrum Forge. Now, these are Ferrum Forge production versions. This is the Aloris, which, as you guys know, was the knife of the year last year. Absolutely amazing. Super thin behind the edge. Beautiful blade shape. Typical of Elliot. So comfortable in hand. Functional jimping. Big choil up at the front if you want to get up on it and do it. And it's just amazing looking. I did refinish the handles on mine because I wanted a little finer of a finish on it. But this thing is, watch this, just drop shut smooth in a production knife. This one's done differently than a lot of their other knives. Most of their other knives were done with standoffs, or in some of the others you're going to see, the other production ones, backspacers. But this was done as a clamshell, which means you can get away with minimal hardware on one side. And it's so much easier to take apart because there's only typically, I mean, literally, unless you're going to take the pocket clip off, 1, 2, 3 screws. You got a pivot screw, 2 body screws. One of this pocket clip screw turns into a body screw as well. And it's just amazingly simple and clean. So that was the knife of the year last year, and it is so smooth, and it's such a good carry. You can even flick off of the knife without needing a fuller. And then the last one in this row is the first production model they made, which was the Crux. This was the one that they did through mass drop. This one is number 858. They were serialized. S35VN and titanium. This was the first knife that they put out production style, and it's amazingly good. It reminds me very, very much of a Sebenza. If you've made a flipper Sebenza, this would probably be what you would wind up with, and I absolutely love it. So there's the first row. We're going to take a quick break for me to get a drink. Now, because I'm picky about how I do my knife case, all of my knives that are by a single brand are kind of grouped together. So these are also Ferrum Forge production knives. This was the Gent. This was the Ferrum Forge Gent, also a mass drop release that absolutely is an amazing knife. This was probably for a long time one of my most carried knives, to the point where any of these knives that you see that don't look like the production, anything that I said I've refinished, that means I absolutely love that knife because I took the time to refinish it. I went ahead and had Nico do a rattlesnake skin pattern on this because I like this knife so much. I wanted it to match one of my firearms and one of my other knives, and I think it just came out amazing. But this was a great, great gentleman's folder, really nice and thin, super comfortable. Another knife that if you can find them out there, I recommend picking up. Next two knives are still Ferrum Forge knives. This is the Ferrum Forge production Stinger. Now, the original Stinger was done in SM100. These were done in, I want to say, Nitro V, but mine is in 9CR because this is a prototype. I refinished this with black and red and then did black liners. This thing is great. You can flick off of that fuller. You've got a really good flipper action. And then I did all the hardware red. This thing is an awesome knife that comes down super, super thin. This is probably one of the best thin pocket knives out there. If you can find these as well, I recommend it. They're usually on their website. You can check them out at Ferrum Forge Knife Works, or you can look for them with my links down below where I get a little bit of credit for it. So there you go. The Stinger. Great, great knife. This is the Buck, as in Buccaneer. I thought it looked more like a ring sword, if you ask me, because you got that lanyard hole back here on this jimped backspacer. But this was a beautiful cleaver-esque style knife that they did, and it was nice and thin, but the action on it, that's where it was just amazing action. Mine probably needs cleaned up a little bit, but the action on this was great. You had that fuller up there where you could get a hold of it. This is just a very, very comfortable knife. I did mine bronze and blue. So, you know, I really like it because I modified it. So there you go. And then this one is kind of a Ferrum Forge, but this is the Mass Drop Terzuola CTF, Compact Tactical Fighter. Now, Bob designed this, but Elliot helped him render it. So that's why it's in this same area because, well, Elliot and Bob are really good friends of mine, and this thing came out amazing. It looks like his full-size tactical folding knives, but it's much smaller. It's got a thumb disc on it, which is typical of Bob's knives. Also has a really good flipper, so you can thumb flip it off of that thumb disc. You can reverse flick it if you can get your finger in. There you go. You can reverse flick off of it. And it's got this beautiful spear point blade that Bob does so, so well. So there is the Bob Terzuola CTF done by Mass Drop. This next one was a gift from one of the paying members. Alex sent me this. This is the Heretic Knives Medusa button lock auto out the side. This has the original H clip on it. I am trying to sell this, but I'm half-heartedly selling this because I absolutely love this knife. It was sent as a gift, but it was a gift to the channel, I should say. You know, typically I don't sell gifts, but I was told I could do whatever I wanted with this, sell it, give it away, do whatever. And so this is an awesome, awesome, awesome knife. So great, great. Look at this. This was a show exclusive done in red and black. This next one I purchased from Nico. This is a 25th anniversary UTX 85 Ultratech by Microtech, which means it's 85% the size of the actual Ultratech, I think this is probably the perfect size for an OTF knife. It's not too big and bulky. Here, we'll pull this one out. You're going to get to see it in a second. You can see how much smaller it is than that actual full-size Ultratech, but it is awesome the way it feels in hand. Just that little bit of size reduction. This one is done in their Spartan blade, which is basically 2 Tontos put together. This is a nightmare piercing blade, and surprisingly super, super sharp for a dagger style blade. So there's that one. This is my Ultratech. I bought this back in 2015 from Microtech. This is one that I won't get rid of because technically it's my daughter's knife. When I had 3 of these, I had a bunch of different blade shapes. She told me that she thought this one was cool, and so I have kept it for her for a lot of years. 2015, I've had 0 issues with this knife. I've taken it apart a few times and cleaned it. I have the tool for it. But these are great OTF, double action OTFs. I've had zero problems with this as long as you use the right lubrication. And then the last knife in this row is probably one of the greatest knives of all time, the Chris Reeve Sebenza. You see it in almost every video, especially if I'm doing knife comparison. Well, you see it in every video that I do knife comparison, size comparisons on. This is absolutely one of the best knives ever made, in my opinion. Beautiful frame lock, titanium, S35 VN blade done in a hollow. I had one of the old ones that then they called the classics, and then they completely got rid of. And I immediately regretted selling it and turned around and bought this one off knifeart.com. This thing has served me so well. It's just a beautiful, beautiful knife. I've had 0 problems with the action on it. It's still beautifully smooth. Just amazing how good this knife is. This is still what I consider the best production knife I've ever bought. This thing is amazing in the looks department, in feel, the way it has held up, the action, the durability. This thing is amazing. This is my Reate Horizon D in carbon fiber and titanium. I did refinish this. This is not how it looked when it came from the factory. I added a little bit of a choil to it. I opened that up just ever so slightly to give it more functionality and sharpening. You can reverse flick off of it. This is done in M390 steel, titanium, carbon fiber, runs on a multi-row bearing system. Flipper action is great. You've got that big fuller that goes the full length of the blade that gives it that really good look, and you can reverse flick off of it. It is an amazing knife. I did refinish all of this. I love the way this looks with the blue and bronze anodizing on that titanium. This one here is the first We knife I ever got. This is the We 601, and you can see it has got a very, very unique grind to the blade. It is ridiculous. This is done in S35 VN titanium. I did refinish all of this titanium. This did not come this color. It came raw titanium, and I have refinished this. It's been several different colors. This was still back in the day when they were doing proprietary hardware. This is basically a reversed T8, I believe. T8, T7, something like that. Action on this has always been good. Another knife that runs on multi-row bearing systems. I'm typically not a big fan of multi-row bearing systems, but everything about this was really good, space-aged look to it, and it is such a comfortable knife to carry. People have asked me if they could get this from, there's no way. This is a discontinued model. It's not going anywhere. And so if you guys see, I don't know if you guys can see it, I haven't done it yet, but down inside each one of these, I have started placing these when these come in. I find a spot that doesn't have one in. I know there's not one in there, and I just drop it in, and it helps keep the moisture in your case down. So this is the We Knives Minax. Now this is a prototype. You can even see it says prototype on the blade. Elliot gave me this. This was designed for We Knife Company by Elliot. This was Knife of the Year 2 years ago. So Elliot has won Knife of the Year 2 consecutive years. This year We don't know yet. I don't think it's going to be a Ferrum Forge, but this thing is a beautiful recurve shape to it. It's got a really weird looking handle. I know a lot of people say it's phallic, but the action on this is just ridiculous. And this was until the Aloris came out. I'm sorry. Until the Aloris came out, the thinnest blade grind on any of the Ferrum Forge knives to date. This thing still gets a lot of pocket time. I did refinish this one as well. I did bronze and orange peel, and then I did a black ceramic with a tumble. This thing is amazing. If you have not gotten to try a Minax, I absolutely try it. I have a link to We Knife Company down below that you can get this knife from them. So, and then the last of my We knives, no, it's not, there's one more, is the We Knife Incisor. I got this, was handed to me by one of my friends from We Knife Company at the show. They were like, we can't take this back. Here, take this. And it is probably the best karambit on the market, hands down. They have a new version of this that's a button lock. I have not gotten to see it, but this frame lock version is amazing. And yes, I refinished this one as well. So it doesn't sit in the case real well. I got to find a place to keep this. It has torn all the way down through my pick and pluck by coming in and out of this case. This is the We Knives Eschaton. This was designed by my friend Elijah Isham, who unfortunately passed away last year. It's a matter of fact, it's been a year. I think yesterday it had been a year. Carbon fiber, titanium on this liner lock, and just a crazy, crazy shape. It looks like something from Mass Effect, if you want to know the truth. And it's just a unique thing. They did a limited run of these. This is, I think they only did 700. This is number 61 of 700 of these. So yeah, really unique, not anything functional. This is my Olamik Wayfarer 247. This is the 5th one they ever did in this configuration with this blade. And yes, I have refinished, but this is done in M390. This came as an acid washed blade with a black acid wash. I didn't like it, so I retumbled it, and it did not take off the logos at all. You can still see them. I refinished all this titanium. This came like this with this rock pattern, and all I did was re-anodize it. I gave it a very, very fine tumble, and then re-anodized it different colors. I did the toxic green on all the hardware. This has got probably one of the most comfortable pocket clips that I have had on a knife. It is absolutely just disappears in your hand. You cannot feel that pocket clip at all. It may as well not even be there. And then it's got this big full rock patterned titanium backspacer. And it's a floating backspacer. Can you see? So I went to all the trouble and I polished that up. It was not polished. It was more like this. Polished this all up and gave it a toxic green ano. And I think it made this knife look amazing. So now we get into some stuff that's newer to the case, newer to the collection. QSP Penguin, which will stay in my case because it is very unique. It's done in denim micarta, with a D2 blade that is probably one of the best small, this is probably one of the best small EDC flippers at the price. These are like $30. You cannot go wrong with this one. These are great. This came to me. I had 2 of them that came in from QSP, and I gave one of them away, and I kept this one. I refinished the blade. I gave it a ceramic coating so it wouldn't rust. So this thing is awesome, awesome, awesome. And then the last knife in this row is the Migron Valona. This came to me from Jared. This was a gift. He gave it to me. This knife really hits well above its weight class. This is probably one of the best budget knives. If you're looking for a good budget knife, this is one of the best budget knives on the market at the price. These are well under $100. This one is stupid smooth, super beautiful blade on this. Comes down nice and thin, and it takes one of the most aggressive edges I've ever seen on a knife. This was done in DC 32 steel as opposed to what they're using now, which is 14C28N. I like the steel. I wish they'd do more in it. It takes an aggressive edge no matter what grit you used. I have not found a stone it will not sharpen up ridiculous sharp on ever. So there you go. There's the end of that row. Like I said, marathon, not a sprint. We have an entire another box to look at. This is the Centros. This is CJRB Centros. This was designed by Dylan Mallory. This is one of the best little folding knives. If you're looking for a tactical style folding knife, this thing is awesome. Really, really piercing for letting the air out of tires or people or, you know, hey, whatever you're doing. It is thumb stud only. Now, I did do a black ceramic coating on mine because this is D2 steel. I have a tendency, I don't know what it is, I can make D2 steel rust so badly, and other people are like, I don't have that I will rust it in a day. So I started to see some oxidation on this one, and I refinished it and did some ceramic. As a matter of fact, I did these two the same day because I noticed the same thing. So CJRB Centros by Dylan Mallory. Awesome, awesome knife. I think this was, until recently, the best button lock knife that well, this was the best knife that CJRB had made, but this was the best button lock on the market for a while, until we get to the end of this row, and you'll see why. This is the Lago by CJRB. This thing is amazing. And like I said, I have affiliate links for a lot of these companies down where you can pick up knives for these down below, like CJRB, Blade HQ. If you're looking for any of the knives in this case, there will be links to the companies down below. So Artisan and CJRB will be a link down there. But this is an awesome, awesome button lock. This is a prototype, so don't ask. I can't send it to you. I can't do this as a giveaway. This thing is awesome but this is one of the best button locks they came out with. There's several different configurations of this now, but it's an ARRPM 9 and G10. And I mean, it's kind of no frills, but when you get a hold of it, it's how it performs and how it feels. That's why it has stayed here. So any of these knives in this case are knives that I love, and they stay in a case. This is one of my favorite Laconico designs ever. This is the Artisan Cutlery Sirius. Now, I love Ray Laconico's designs. This is no exception. This one is done in S35 VN and their green micarta. And this thing is one of the few front flippers that I absolutely love. I can break it loose and then flick it if I want. I can break it loose and thumb roll it if I want. I can flick it with the thumb studs. This thing is great, comfortable in hand. And I love when companies do this, where they offer you an option of a lanyard, but they don't just punch a hole in it. This is not an aftermarket pocket clip. This is how it came. This is a great, great knife. You can't go wrong with it. Here is another Laconico design, and I usually organize my case. This is Monterey Bay Knives. I should reorganize this case and put this in with the other Monterey Bay knife that you're going to see later in the other case, but I have not. This is the EWC, or Everywhere Carry. This is a double detent. It does not have a lock bar. It simply has two detents. I love this thing. This winds up in the pocket of a pair of shorts a lot, especially if it's a day where I'm not doing any heavy cutting where I would need a knife that locks, because you absolutely can kick that loose. These knives, the Monterey Bay Knives pocket clips, are some of the, I don't know what it is, I find them the most attractive pocket clips, but also super comfortable and functional. So you don't even really feel that in hand. This was the first CJRB that really got my attention, if you want to know the truth. This was the CJRB Reate. And this is probably one of the best small everyday carry folding knives, like gentleman's folders, you're going to come across. It's got a scalpel-esque blade. This is a great little knife if you're just looking for a small knife to carry. It's small enough that I sometimes have to put my thumb in there. It's not that you don't have access to it. It's just that my hands are so big, I sometimes have a hard time disengaging that unless I stick my finger in there like that. But beautiful, beautiful knife. Nice clean lines, great carry option. You can't go wrong with this one. Artisan. We're starting to get into some Artisan stuff. There's a couple more CJRBs, but this is the Artisan Mastiff. This came to me to the channel. I was told, do whatever you want with it. You know, do it as a giveaway. I cannot give this knife away. I love this knife. It was just recently in a short, and this thing is incredible. incredible. Big, big, beefy cleaver blade. I love it because it's so over the top, but still so functional. I'm not gonna lie, it's heavy. Titanium and carbon fiber, huge, big S35 VN cleaver blade. It is drop shut, like dangerously drop shut smooth. Reverse flick off the fuller, and it's comfortable. It is comfortable to carry. It's comfortable to carry. It's comfortable to use. You've got basically, this reminds me of the handles that are on a Benchmade Crooked River. And that's one of the most comfortable sets of handles out there. It's very, very similar in the way it feels in hand. So there's that one. This is the prototype CJRB riff that just released. I dropped a video about this. Purchase link for this is in that video. This thing is probably the coolest new release from CJRB. Very tactical, very cool, very clip point. It reminds me aesthetically a lot of the Arcane designs, not like a copy, but very similar. It has all those little wickets about it that I love in this knife. And this last knife is currently my knife of the year. Now, I do know that the production version does not have thumb studs, but this is the Laconico Echo done by CJRB. This is my current knife of the year. It is beating out knives that are in the $300 and $400 range. This thing is absolutely amazing. You can reverse flick. The production ones have got the aperture. It's got the hole in it as opposed to the thumb studs. This is another top flipper that I absolutely love, and I don't have a problem with it. Ray Laconico's designs have always been on the mark. I've never had a problem with any of his designs. This thing is an absolute laser. I had to put this in the case because if I didn't, I was going to not get any other knives reviewed because it spends so much time. Absolutely $53 knife that is beating out $500 knives for knife of the year. So that's it in this case. Let's go ahead and grab the overflow box and start looking at those. Now, just because this is the overflow case, this is not my entire collection. There's a lot of other knives. You guys have seen that. I had to break that up into 4 separate videos. But in this case, I've got everything in here. These are the knives that I truly, truly carry the most of the knives you're seeing now. This top row, we've got my Oaks Works. This one is the Osprey. This is the Oaks Works Osprey titanium M390 blade. This is a titanium bolster lock with blue G10 or gray G10. It's blue. They say gray, but it's blue. Inlays. This is a very, very good knife. This thing is absolutely one of my favorite knives that I've had in a long time. Action on this is amazingly smooth. Titanium bolster lock. So you've got the weight reduction of this. Then you have the full basic frame lock here. It is amazing, amazing. And it's a very, very functional blade done in a nice hollow. Which takes us to what was knife of the year for a while. The Oaks Works Solar Storm. This one's done in titanium and micarta, which I absolutely love the micarta on this. This is what I would want out of a Benchmade 940. Nice and slender, super good hollow grind on this, comfortable in hand, beautiful pocket clip, and all of this milling that you see on Eric's knives, Eric Oaks from Oaks Works, it serves as jimping. So when you have that knife in a pinch grip, it's absolutely functional jimping, which leads us to probably one of his best designs, the Lantra. This is an amazing, amazing knife. Oops, I missed it. Thumb stud and top flipper. This is another top flipper I absolutely love. It drops in hand, super comfortable, that big area here. And people are like, oh, don't those thumb studs get in the way when you're cutting? I was like, I think my thumb gets in the way more than the thumb studs, but I've never had an issue with it because you're cutting, you can see you're cutting at that angle there. Thumb studs are just in a perfect place. The action on this is absolutely brilliant, and it's a beautiful little package. I'm trying to get an Olamik busker in for comparison, but this is a knife that does what I wanted the busker to do, and I just could not get behind the busker. It did not feel as good in hand. This thing is brilliant in hand. And then the last knife in this row is, of course, the most important knife in my collection. This was the first knife I was ever given. This was that little This is that little itty bitty camelus knife that my father gave me when I was about 6 years old. Doesn't go anywhere, stays in that case. This next row has a couple of really important knives in it. This is a Diskin Revolution full custom double action that was given to me by my friend Elijah Isham a long time ago, and then he passed away. And this thing it holds a special place in my heart. I honestly thought about selling this because we had so much money that we had to spend on a wife's car, but I honestly do not know if I can let this go. It has such a special place in my heart. The person that was going to buy it absolutely is super good friends with Elijah as well. But I think outside of the knife that my father gave me, this is one of the most important knives in my collection, right up there with the gift knives that I got in that, the really important one, my Master Blaster. This thing is beautiful, mirror polished M39 titanium and ivory, my G10 or my Micarta, I can't remember which. I think it's G10. It is just beautiful. Hidden activation switchblade. So there, we've spent a lot of time on that one. This one's important. This was a gift. And there's a reason there's an extra blade in it. This was a gift from a gentleman at Blade Show West in Portland, the first year I ever got to go to Blade Show West. This is my Benchmade 940, and it currently is a Franken knife because I have taken the blade out and replaced it with S90V blade that came out of another knife. This blade was a gift from Jojo Jeep, and this is the original blade so that it's there with it. These stay together all the time. I love this knife as much as I might critique it. It's got some problems, yeah, but it's such a good knife as far as like comfort level and ease of carry. So big shout out to the guys that made this possible. This is my other Laconico that is in, I told you this is my other Monterey Bay knives that should go in the case next to the other. This is a slayback. This is done in a laminated blade with 420 jacket, but the center is ZDP 189 at like 69 Rockwell. It is nuts how well this cuts, how well it feels in hand. This thing is just a gorgeous, gorgeous knife. Big shout out to the guys at Monterey Bay Knives for making sure that I got this. This was definitely given to the channel for use. And then this last one in a row is another top flipper I don't dislike. This is the Prickle. This is the Prickle by, I'm sorry, Sanford. I should have mentioned Sanford by name. Sanford is the one that gave me this. Sanford over at Monterey Bay Knives. This is the Concept Prickle. This is a knife that when Jared sent me one, he sent me a very, very heavy version in copper. And then I got this one. I actually bought this one myself. I think it's brilliantly well done and beautiful. And it's a very, very, very nice slender carry that doesn't take up a lot of pocket space, but gives you a full, beautiful Japanese style Tonto dagger to stretch tip. Beautiful, beautiful knife. I really, really love this one. This gets us into some Tucson knives. This is a TS301. I was on the fence about this knife. I really didn't think I was going to do a video about it when Jared sent me one a while back, and then I absolutely fell in love with it. And then Mr. Winston Cobretti, you're going to hear his name a lot in this video, bought one and sent it to me as a gift. And this thing is a cutting beast. It is so comfortable in hand to cut with. Everything about it is just about perfect, and it is so unique. I love the fact there is nothing marked on this blade. And I love that, you see that iridescence, that rainbow you get from a really good burger grinder finish? That is my favorite satin, that grinder finish like that, where you get that rainbow prismatic effect. It's great. And like I said, it's just gorgeous. They did such a good job with these carbon fiber and micarta bolsters. And here is another Tucson. This is a Tucson 383, which wound up, I looked at it and when it first came and I was like, I don't know about this. Super good. It has got a great pocket clip, nice and long. If you like longer pocket clips, it can get intrusive sometimes. It's done as a frame lock, but the cool thing about it is this knife is so light and balanced a little tip heavy, which I love, because all of that milling you see is done, like where they've milled this out low here to then add the holes in it. They've also done that on the inside, so it's super thin right there. It's so light for the size. It is a very nice light EDC, super comfortable in hand. And then you get to see the next of the, so you remember I had the which actually went back in my pocket. I have this PMP Aries. This is the PMP Big Boy, one of my favorite more budget knives that performs well above its weight class. We just talked about this in a video the other day when I talked about PMP knives. This thing is absolutely one I recommend. I will put I've put up specific links to those knives, to this knife, in a lot of places. This thing is epic, how good this is. And then we have the Kaiser Grazioso. Now this came to me from Jared, and it stayed here as a gift from Jared over at Neve's Knives. And this is probably one of the cooler knives. It gets you very, very functional, very, very comfortable, full EDC knife, but it's in a form factor that is definitely more interesting. So, Sharif over at Mangana Steel designs knives that look really cool. This looks fast going when it's sitting still. He used to design vehicles, and now he designs knives, and you can definitely see that styling carrying over. This absolutely is one of the cooler looking knives that's outside of the realm of what you usually see, but still super, super functional. So that is the Kaiser Grazioso. The rest of these are all Kaisers, by the way. This is the Kaiser Mini Roach, which has a removable flipper tab. These are all knives that I carry a lot. I absolutely love this knife. Super thin, hollow grind on this. I've resharpened it a couple times. If you can't cut it with this, it's because it's not supposed to be cut. This is probably one of the best small folding knives, and the fact that the flipper tab is removable. The flipper tab is right here in my little magnetic bowl that's attached to the side of my workbench. It gives you a very clean look and feel, and you wind up with a knife that just performs great for any task. This is probably one of Kaiser's best knives ever, if not their best. I think this is Kaiser's best knife ever. This is the Kaiser Begleiter XL button lock. This was a Christmas present from my buddy Tino. This thing is absolutely incredible. It gets a lot of pocket time, and I do clean up the micarta because all my knives, I clean the micarta on them. If you're like, well, it doesn't look like you carry it, I clean them all because they get filmed a lot. So this thing is beautiful. Drop point blade. It's got a blade that's really similar to the Big Boy, but not quite as broad, 154 cm, and it is ridiculous how good and how sharp this knife is and how well it cuts. And it's always surprised to see me. This is the Kaiser Original. Now, Jared also wound up providing this. He gave me some points on Mojave Knives to buy some stuff for the channel, and this one came, and I fell in love with it. This is the Kaiser Original done in copper, and it is a little heavier, but they've done a good bit of weight reduction, so it's not super heavy. This is a great, great little small knife, and it is so sharp, so incredibly sharp. This one is in I believe 154 cm. Yeah, 154 cm. All copper, full copper, button lock. Just listen to it. Ding. Great, great knife. And the last knife in this case, and the last knife we're going to look at for this video, is the Kaiser Drop Bear, which has got, I don't know why Benchmade does not take lessons from some of the companies that also do Axis style locks. This has probably got the best Axis lock on the market in it. Comes with extra springs that you can adjust, but it's got this big spear point blade that is just beautiful to cut with, super comfortable in hand. Aluminum 154 cm blade on this, and the finish has held up. I do a lot of cutting with this, as you guys can see. This is one of my knives that's in my case that I carry, and the finish on it has held up really, really well, especially this hard coat ano on these aluminum scales. So there you go. That is the current status. Let's turn this around and do some final thoughts. There you go, guys. That's the look at what's currently in my main collection. These are the knives that stay with me all the time. These are the knives that I carry. I carry every knife in these cases from time to time throughout the week. So no real big changes, but there have been definite changes. So, and these aren't all my knives, not even close. So you saw it's a long video. Guys, that's it. I'm not going to be real long. There'll be links to the companies down below where you can purchase a lot of these, like Blade HQ, Artisan Cutlery, and CJRB, the same place, GP Knives. You can find these knives most of those places. I'd appreciate it if you find anything to your liking, that you find the links down below to the companies and try to find them. Guys, that's it. Keep it clean. I love y'all. I'll see you in the next video.